back on our new segment called the Nerd Corner. As usual, we got Brother Ellington, current gamer and active nerd. And we have nerd extraordinaire, Sean Neville. Welcome, guys, back to the show. It's so great to have you guys.
Great
What
to
up,
be
y'all?
For sure. Alrighty, so last episode we talked about Marvel a little bit. We talked about DC a little bit. Let's delve into the wonderful world of Disney and talk about Star Wars. So we got a new show coming on. We got a new show coming on Disney Plus called The Acolytes. What do you guys think about that?
I'm not gonna have any high hopes. I'm gonna have a blank slate, no expectations. Gonna come to it, blind, and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, kind of the same. Cautious optimism. I mean, the trailer looked good, but you can take the cruddiest show and make a 2-minute trailer make it look good. So I don't know. Disney products have been in the Star Wars arena have been very much up and down.
For sure.
So the highs were usually okay, but the lows were pretty bad. So I'm not expecting the world kind of like Mark, but maybe at least this will be on the higher end of okay.
For sure. Now, for those that are not familiar with the concept of the Acolyte, Sean, would you mind giving us a quick summary of what the premise of that show is?
Okay, so basically, Disney or Lucasfilm storyboard came up with a sort of a new era. It takes place a couple of hundred years before the original trilogy called the High Republic. So the High Republic era is, kind of the Jedi are at their height, the height of their splendor, grandeur. The Acolyte actually takes place 100 years before the original trilogy, so it's right at the end of that High Republic era. And the speculation is that it's kind of going to explain how the Jedi kind of went from this really fanciful, high position to what they were by the time that we get to the prequels. It surrounds what looks like, because they're keeping a lot of it a mystery, but basically a former Padawan who ends up popping back up, and someone is killing off Jedi. And so sort of the Jedi are investigating, this Padawan are investigating, and they end up coming together. And that intersection is really where the story takes place. So
Interesting.
they're not releasing a lot of details about it, but it is really intriguing as to its impact on Star Wars lore, because it changes some things that fans thought were pretty established, like the Jedi hadn't seen the Sith in 1,000 years. That may not be true. We don't know.
Wow.
Yep.
On that point, we learn in connection with Qui-Gon Jinn, one of his main complaints that he never became a Jedi Master was because he believed that the Jedi had lost their way, essentially. In fact, when you look at a lot of fan commentary on the difference in upbringing that Qui-Gon would have given Anakin Skywalker, also known as the Chosen One, that Obi-Wan would have given Anakin Skywalker, also known as the Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker, there was more of a fear that Qui-Gon would have raised Anakin in a more of a threatening way to the Sith, Emperor Palpatine. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about when you look at the Jedi Order for what it was during the prequels? What was it during the Knights of the Old Republic? How are the Jedi reflected? What was the difference between the Knights of the Old Republic and the Jedi in the prequels?
You just mentioned, bro. Revan, the OG.
Yeah.
He was on both the dark and light side of the Force, and after everything was said and done, he realized that a lot of the practices and that the Jedi clung to was to their detriment. Because at that point, they were smelling themselves. They didn't even could fathom that, the Sith could operate without without them knowing.
Mm.
Just they were brought down literally by their own hubris. So that's
Yeah, I
my little
appreciate
tidbit.
that point. What were you about to say about that, Sean?
Yeah, and then when you think about it, like just look at the difference between how the old Republic Jedi versus the new Republic Jedi approached war. So the Mandalorian War breaks out, and the old Republic Jedi wanted nothing to do with it. They were neutral. They didn't know how it was going to pan out because back then they were much more independent from the Republic. They were their own thing. They would help the Republic, but they didn't serve the Republic. By the time that we get, and it's thousands of years in between, but by the time we get to the prequels, really, the Jedi, they've moved their temple to Coruscant right by the Senate.
Mm.
They're intertwined with the Republic. So when the Clone Wars break out, the Jedi immediately go to the front lines, take command positions, and are at the front line of the war effort. And that's the biggest difference, is that they've become so important to the Republic by then. But yeah, they really did. They were undone by their own hubris. They were arrogant. And that was kind of how George Lucas, said that he wrote them, was that they were still righteous, but they were overly righteous. They were so wrapped up in their own ability and their own power that they didn't realize that their power had diminished.
Sure.
Until, they started trying to see the future and went, oh, hey, we can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Then, remember, they didn't even want to tell the Republic about it because Mace Windu said, we probably should let the Senate know. And Yoda's like, nah, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So that just showed kind of the arrogance that they had. They wouldn't even admit to it when they were losing their own ability.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting in connection with the Jedi, because one of the complaints that Anakin made was like the Jedi are corrupt. And when you actually look into the lore of Qui-Gon Jinn, he actually would have agreed with that line of thought. Whereas Obi-Wan Kenobi was kind of like, hey, he was the, foul and rank Jedi master. He didn't really ruffle any feathers when it came to the Jedi Order. And there's a couple of ways you could have looked at that from a fan position, that Qui-Gon was more for what the Jedi stood for. That's why he refused to align himself with the master's rank. Whereas Obi-Wan, he made master, no problem. And, he didn't see himself where the Jedi had fallen. What do you guys think about that line of thought in connection with fanfare?
Well, I do want to clarify, Qui-Gon was a master.
Yeah.
He didn't serve on the council.
Yeah, the council.
Yeah. He actually refused like 3 separate times. But yeah, there's a really good novel, a Qui-Gon novel, and one of the things that he talked about was listening to the living force. That it's a different thing than worrying about diplomacy or whatever. That basically Qui-Gon was more about what does the force want us to do, not what do we need to do politically.
Sure.
Whereas the Order was moving toward the direction of politics. Like you mentioned, Obi-Wan, a big reason why Obi-Wan ended up the way he did was because he saw Qui-Gon as having a bunch of difficulty in just being a Jedi in general, because he's like, you're wise, you're strong, why are you not on the council? Not realizing Qui-Gon could be at any time he wanted to. He didn't want to. And so then, he dies as soon as Obi-Wan is knighted. And so Obi-Wan just clings to what he knows.
Yeah.
And so by the end of it, by the time he's talking to Anakin, he even says, my duty's to the Republic. And that's exactly what Qui-Gon was talking about. Your duty is supposed to be to the Force and to listening to it and following its lead. So now I think it's spot on.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And at the end of the Clone Wars, Yoda and Obi-Wan, they they had to learn the hard way, unfortunately, with the downfall of the Republic. But they do come to that realization. We have to listen to the living force instead of whatever guidance that any political lead or any one person's agenda states. So unfortunately, they had to learn the hard way.
Yeah, yeah. So when you push forward and we push into the Ahsoka Tano series, in which there is a lot of flashbacks in connection with when she was running during the Clone Wars with Anakin Skywalker. And we see Anakin Skywalker kind of in a weird position in which he is both the light side of the Force and the dark side of the Force. What do you think that means moving forward for the character of Anakin Skywalker? Do you think that he will be like a Darth Revan? I mean, he's clearly very much still part of the Star Wars continuity. What do you think they're going to do with Anakin Skywalker's character moving forward?
That is an interesting question.
Yeah.
Because at one point in the Legend series, Luke Skywalker goes to the dark side, and and he experiences that, and Han and Leia bring him back. So, without going on to a long tangent on that and how that's been retconned now and replaced by the High Republic, timeline and stories, but I think hopefully, with after everything was said and done, Anakin saw both ends of the spectrum, the light side and the dark side, and hopefully that's probably one of the reasons why he came to the Force Ghost manifestations at the end of the series. So
for sure. What I thought was really interesting during that conversation with Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano, she was like, "I will not fight you," and then Anakin Skywalker was like, "I heard that before," and then they started fighting. And what was really cool about that scene was that it mirrored what happened in Return of the Jedi when Darth Vader was like, "You're gonna fight me," and then Luke Skywalker was like, "I'm not gonna fight you," and he ended up fighting him to the point that he chopped his hand off. So it's really interesting how his character has evolved from what you saw in Episode 1, Phantom Menace, to the Return of the Sith, to the Return of the Jedi, and comes full circle back when you have what he is now in the Ahsoka Tano series. I thought that was really, really cool. Alrighty, moving on. The Mandalorian. What is our thoughts on the Mandalorian? The Mandalorian. All right, so I want to throw the first shot out there. So great selection in Pedro Pascal. Big shout out to Pedro Pascal. Even more of a shout out to the budget team. They literally created a series that was watchable with clearly a low budget. So let's talk about that. What is y'all's opinion on the Mandalorian?
It's okay. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not like knock your socks off. I think it was just different, and especially after Rise of Skywalker kind of like crapped the bed. It was nice to see something that didn't suck.
Yeah.
So, okay becomes great in the eyes of Star Wars fans because you're like, oh my God, I can actually sit through all of this.
Yeah.
And, so the bar is just kind of low. But honestly, if you go back and look at it and you kind of remove yourself from, the whole thing and watch it like just as a series, not as like a Star Wars fan who's been through all this stuff, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's not terrible.
Yeah. For sure. What about you, Mark?
I agree. It was everybody got on the hype train. It was like everybody's, I guess, digging deeper into Mandalorian lore. Because the anytime they mention Mandalorian, it's always, been a thing of, man, we need to, dive into this deeper. And there's, I guess, a little sneak peek into that world of Mandalorians. But as Sean said, it's the storytelling, the, cinematography. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
We came from a very low place.
Yeah. Low
That
grade.
was Skywalker.
Low grade. And I mean low grade.
I mean,
Somehow Palpatine returns.
I
The
mean,
worst line of all time.
Yeah.
when you're starving and the first bite of food is going to be the best tasting thing you ever eat in your life. So
what I will say in connection with the Mandalorian, that really tells you the strength of the 6 minutes of Boba Fett that we got in the original series. Boba Fett was so captivating in those 6 minutes that we ended up creating an entire series, soon to be possibly longer than what we got out of a character that lasts 6 minutes. So I think that the Mandalorian was necessary. I think it, especially with the Book of Boba, I think it filled some holes that a lot of us that were on the Dark Horse comic books kind of already knew. If you were reading the Dark Horse comic books, you knew that Boba Fett made it out of the Rancor pit and he went and got hooked up with some sand people, which that sounds terribly racist, but it is what that's what they're called.
That's what they're called. Pick it up with George Lucas.
George Lucas, you could have came out with a better name. I'm just going to call that out.
Tusken Raiders. How about that? Is that better?
Tusken Raiders. So if you
and they
were...
just sound like criminals.
So if you were familiar with the Dark Horse series, you would have known that. But it is good to see that they were actually able to put that into canon so that we can actually see Boba Fett return into the Star Wars franchise. What I did not like was, honestly, so you have the Mandalorian, the main character played by Pedro Pascal. I don't really think he's all that great. He's got like incredible Beskar armor, and yet he pretty much constantly is losing to everybody, and then like baby Grogu has to save him constantly. I'm just like, why don't we just have a series about baby Grogu? We don't have a Mandalorian. He can't do nothing. He can't even keep his own dark saber. Come on, man, get it together. What do y'all think about the Mandalorian, the character?
It's I guess the mystique of his character at the beginning of the series.
Yeah.
That man, where did he come from, and how's it, his connection, to the Mandalorian race, and it to a point, it got to a point like after we figure out who he was and how he's connected and everything, as been stated, it was meh.
Yeah.
As you stated,
Yeah.
keep the dark saber. It was eh.
Yeah, he doesn't have much of a personality either. I think that's the thing that he's kind of like a blank slate besides being like honorable,
Sure.
but
For sure.
I think that's kind of a waste of Pedro Pascal because he can play, if you've seen him in Narcos or Game of Thrones or Kingsman Golden Circle,
incredible.
Last of Us,
Incredible.
he can play a range,
For sure.
He can be as over the top as you want. He can be as subdued as you want. So you got an actor who's got the chops to do whatever. But I think, to me, I always kind of saw Din Djarin as he's like a vessel for you to view the other characters who actually do have skills and personalities more than, most of if you look at like rankings and stuff, the boring episodes are the ones where it's like just him and Grogu.
Yeah.
But if he's meeting up with his friends or, other stuff is going on, those are usually more exciting because he's just not an exciting character.
For sure.
And then, like you said, he loses constantly. Like, you can't be shot, but everybody and their mama finds a way to whack you with something.
Yeah. On the planet where he was going to Mandalore, And
Yeah.
he got knocked out by
Hmm.
that little monster thing, and Grogu had the
Yeah.
bucket and get Bo-Katan to come save him.
And I
And the
It's
sad
like,
part is he knew it was going to happen because he said, "Oh, this thing's trapping people. Well, I'm going to move forward exactly as I've been moving forward. Nothing bad will happen."
and honestly, I think that the series, The Mandalore, was really a setup for Bo-Katan, honestly. And if we take Bo-Katan's character all the way back into what, the Star Wars Rebels, her
Clone
character.
Wars.
oh no, back to that. Yeah, Star Clone Wars.
Clone
Clone
Wars.
Wars, yeah, like her character has always been a strong character. Whereas Din Djarin, on the other hand, I feel like his character is paired with Grogu just to give him character. And
I can see it.
yeah, whereas everyone else, they don't really need to be walking around with a baby on their hip. Din Djarin does. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. All righty.
Yeah, the show seems to be more about what he gets into
For sure.
as opposed to who he is as a person.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Alrighty. So, lastly, where Star Wars is going, as a franchise. We learned that the new, what is it? The new director for Star Wars. What's the new director's name? Her name is like Shermeen Obeid or something like that. She made an interesting. She made, yeah, that's her. She made an interesting comment in connection with the direction of Star Wars. She said that it is time for a woman to take reign of the franchise because women hasn't had a significant role in the franchise. And I said, that's an interesting statement. We just had Ahsoka Tano. I guess we just forgot about Princess Leia. Bo-Katan. What about that? Go ahead.
Daniel, going back farther than that, Mara Jade from
Yep.
Legends. I mean, we've had so many strong female characters. Dr. Afra in the comic book series. I mean, you have so many like strong female characters already established in the Star Wars universe. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's the one thing that we keep always going back to, that companies are trying to overshadow the substance and, organic flow of a story just to pilot a message or an agenda versus.
I thought that was incredible because we literally just said that they keep having people make these shows who's never read any of the source material.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
How are you going to have someone direct the Star Wars film, one of the biggest franchises the world has ever seen, and she make a remark that is so not in contrast with the history of Star Wars? I found matter of fact, every single trilogy that has came out of Star Wars had a incredibly strong female lead. Incredible. Padme. There was no Padme, there'd be literally no Darth Vader. Literally.
Yep.
No Darth Vader.
Yep. That's very true.
Without Padme, there'd be no Luke or Leia. In fact, there probably wouldn't even be a functioning rebellion if there wasn't a Padme. It's interesting that a lot of these people that they choose to direct these franchises, they just completely whiff all of the source material that they have, and they don't even consider it when they make statements or even make movies.
Yes.
Yeah. Alrighty, Sean. Let's ask you a question.
All right.
Gina Carano. I think it's
Carano.
Gina Carano. What's going on there?
Well, now she's suing, which I think is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
She's suing Disney for defamation because they made the statement about, her beliefs not being conducive, and she feels like it blackballed her. But, the whole thing, I think, most people who even vaguely follow Star Wars know there was a big Twitter spat with her and, some transgender activists
Mm-hmm.
about, her choice not to do different things and
Mm-hmm.
not to like put her pronouns in her bio. And then she came back and, made some jokes that many felt were transphobic. And just kind of it went off the rails from there. Then there was something vague about she put up like a picture of people being persecuted in World War II and liking people being persecuted to their political beliefs then to
Oh man.
now. And people took it as being anti-Semitic and it's a lot of, and then once that happened, Disney was like, nope, and Kathleen Kennedy was like, nah, you're done.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of stuff back and forth. Just it was a ridiculous amount of internet drama, and people seem to forget that internet drama can have real life
Oh,
consequences.
real life ramifications. Absolutely.
Boy, she fumbled the bag.
And
That's for sure.
especially when it comes to Disney, I feel Disney caters more to the LGBTQ plus community than it does families. Every film that they have at some level or height or width has something to do with LGBTQ. I don't think y'all if y'all remember. Did y'all ever see Atlanta? Well, the Donald Glover series.
Yeah, the Goofy movie episode.
Yeah.
That was good. The blackest movie ever made.
I will never, ever forgive Disney to what they did to Paperboy in the Eternals. I will never forgive Disney for what they did to Paperboy in the Eternals.
Oh my god.
They Meek Mills them. They Meek Mills them. P. Diddy Meek Mills them. Oh, that's gonna go trend. Anyways,
you found your viral moment, sir.
But yeah, and I think you made the statement, Sean, that you said I think that Disney doesn't like money, because they constantly push back the group of people whom they're supposed to be attracting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we could do a deep dive on why, and there's a whole bunch of stuff there, but yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, it's not profitable. It's like, flop after flop after flop after flop. And they're doubling down and continuing to do it. And it's like, yeah, at some point, you're alienating families. You're alienating,
Your fan
half
base.
the country because yeah, and I mean, you're alienating half the country just in general, not even from political stance, but if you take a political stance, you're going to alienate people.
Yeah.
And really, why? To me, I'm like, why does it matter? Your job is to make entertainment. I really could care less what your personal political beliefs are. Don't put them in the movie. Just make the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need a bit of politics to enjoy a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie or whatever, or the latest Disney movie. So yeah, and the insistence that they keep doing it is got to be because they don't like money. What other reason would there be? I mean, they lost $4 billion last year, and they're going to lose more this year. They're thinking.
Wow.
I mean, $4 billion.
So the last movie that came out, was it Wish?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it yet. I was like, it wasn't an appeal. It was just, man. You know what's saving Disney right now? Bluey. Bluey is keeping the lights on for him right now.
Bluey, man, my kids love Bluey.
If Bluey decides to go on their own thing, Disney in trouble.
Oh my goodness. All right, so what do you guys think about? Was it Peter Safran? No, it was Kevin Feige in connection with the direction of Marvel and in connection he was reflecting the Disney ownership's attitude when he said, we're not going to make, which I really was really disappointed in this statement, but he said we're not going to focus on quantity. We're going to start focusing on quality. And I was like, the fact that you just said that really disturbed me because you've been focusing on quantity.
On quality instead of quality. So yeah.
What are you about
They
to say,
just
Sean?
admitted that they didn't care.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I was just laughing. It's like, oh yeah, so we're gonna do what we did that made us successful in the first place and should have kept doing the entire time. What a surprise!
Yeah.
You know, because Marvel movies used to be like an event. You know,
Yeah,
you
man.
got 2, maybe 3 in a year. You know, everybody came out for them, but they produced more content in Phase 4 than they did in the 3 phases previous combined.
Yeah.
Like, what does that tell you? They hit us over the head with so much that I know personally I lost interest. I was like, all right,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is done.
I think Mark made the interesting point last show that I think he thought that, and I agree, that most people are burnt out on superhero films, not because of the quantity of them, but just sheer of the quality of them. The quality of the superhero films is abysmal. I didn't see the Marvels at the theaters. I waited for it to come on Disney Plus, and I'm not going to lie to you, I overpaid. If anybody is looking at me from Marvel, I want you to know, if you were involved in the Marvels, you personally suck. You.
I wish that all the bad things in life happen to
I
you.
hope all the
only
bad
you.
things in the world happens to you and you
Dishonour
alone.
on you. Dishonor your cow.
That was crap. That was trash. You wasted my
I
time.
didn't even bother.
Yeah.
I looked at it and went, nope.
What would you say
That's
was
a big negative.
Well, let me ask you a question. All right. Out of these 3 terrible films, what's worse? Catwoman? I'm talking about the one with Halle Berry. The Harley Quinn series that came out, not the series, but the Harley Quinn movie, something like the Fantabulous
Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
The Birds of Prey.
Whatever it was. I don't even remember the name.
The Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn.
Yeah. That one. So Harley Quinn, Catwoman, or the Marvels. Which one was the bigger turd out of those 3?
I don't know. I didn't see the Marvels, but Catwoman's pretty hard to beat. Like,
oh man,
I've never cringed in my seat so hard. You're almost making me want to hate watch it just to see
so
if it's as bad as you
I'm
say
going
it
to
is.
say this. I'm going to say this. All right. So if we give a 1 out of 10 to 10 being great, 1 being terrible. If I was to rate Catwoman, I'd give it a 3. Right? Now, if I was to use that same line of logic, giving Catwoman a 3, I would give the Marvels a strong 1.
Dang.
A strong 1.
just all the way to ground floor, huh?
like have you ever seen something that was like dying, like you're playing a video game and you're just flickering, that your life bar just flickering? that would be the Marvels.
Good grief.
That would be the Marvels. And then I would give Harley Quinn a 2. Yeah, that would be what I would do. The Marvels.
I kind of like the Harley Quinn movie though. I think it's because Margot Robbie kills it in that role though. That was like the big thing.
She does such a good job. She made
it enjoyable.
Margot Robbie is an incredible actress. Don't get me confused. I love Margot Robbie. She's an incredible actress. But the story, how do you make a movie suck when you have Ewan McGregor played Black Mask?
Black Mask. Black Mass.
You should have possibly the greatest film on your hands. How do you, bro? How do you make a Harley Quinn series and just not put the Joker in it? I don't under. WB has this consistent.
I was glad for that though.
You gonna have to explain.
Everywhere.
You gonna have to explain that. Why you said that for?
Because the Joker's oversaturated. Like every time there's anything, they always want to throw the Joker in. And it's to the point for me, I'm like, geez. It was like I'll give you an example. When Arkham Knight came out, Joker died in the second one. We're in the third one, and I'm like, okay, it'll be cool to see a story without Joker. Same thing with Arkham Origins. It's before the Joker was around, so to speak. The Black Mask was supposed to be the bad guy. They both ended up being all about Joker.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just
true.
Batman has other villains. And they're just as engaging.
Yeah, I'm still not sure how Deathstroke hasn't gotten his own series. That one should have been happened. That Deathstroke, good grief. That's a
Batman has a huge role gap.
Maybe y'all can maybe you guys can explain to me how Blue Beetle got his own movie and Deathstroke has not. Maybe you guys can explain.
Because Deathstroke is a straight white male.
Dang. Shots fired.
Yeah. That's exactly why. You know what you got with Blue Beetle? Diversity.
Fast forward. I'm serious, man. Deathstroke should have been happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, Scott Snyder. Zack Snyder. Scott Snyder is not related to Zack Snyder, but an incredible comic book writer.
We understand what
let me touch on that.
That.
What Zack Snyder did with building up Deathstroke, what Ben Affleck was planning with his standalone Batman series. He said that it was going to be like, what was it? The Long Halloween? I don't know if you guys read that comic book.
Oh my gosh, man, that would have been amazing. Yes.
If we got a live adaptation of the Long Halloween, I want to ask WB for nothing else, not a damn thing. I want to ask WB for nothing. If we got a live adaptation with Ben Affleck's Batman, that's checkmate.
Daniel, the one thing that the Superman versus Batman movie got right was that fight scene with Ben Affleck.
Oh man,
the best fight scene.
That fight scene, in my humble opinion, is the standard. That man, my thing that a lot of people feel polar about how they feel about Ben Affleck, but me personally, I really enjoyed his brutality, and I think he perfectly mirrored that. Like so I need to say this. I need to say this so that everybody understands what Gotham City is. There was a comic book that came out. I think it was like a couple series after Flashpoint, when Thomas Wayne, so the universe didn't get wiped out. Thomas Wayne's still alive. His wife is still running around as a Joker, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Barry Allen came up to Bruce Wayne and was like, yo, the villains in Gotham City scare me. I hate coming through Gotham. Now, that line of thought, this guy is literally the fastest man on planet Earth. He thinks that your villains in your city is terrifying. And Batman scares these people. That is the level of brutality that Batman brings. And even when you look at Christian Bale's, and me and Mark talked about this earlier, but even when you look at Christian Bale's Batman, he was brutal, but he was not that brutal. Like, the scariest thing he did was come out of the sky when the villains was like, hey, what's that? And then this guy just comes down and swoops him up. That was the scariest thing that he did. But when Ben Affleck was sitting in the corner of a room just like a demon.
He gave this man PTSD.
Now, when he came up out of the floor, that's what got me.
Yo,
Man,
I mean,
like,
just imagine that the floor explodes and there's this big Joker, and he throws this big Joker comes out of the floor and throws a box at you, like a full blown.
a
box,
whole
crate,
crate.
a crate
An
at your dome,
entire
crate
crate.
at your dome.
And Dome's
As
the
big
guy.
as you are.
No, the dude at the end when he just literally he's hammering
Yeah.
his face in
Yeah.
with his forearm.
Yeah. So the brutality that Ben Affleck's Batman, he was a
Bruh.
whole problem. And
Bruh.
I don't think, even when Jared Leto, and I understood with Jared Leto understood the assignment because he was like, I gotta create a character that can contend with what Ben Affleck is doing. I gotta create a character that is not afraid of Ben Affleck's Batman. Cause like they were saying Jared Leto was doing all kinds of crazy stuff behind the scenes in connection with recreating this psycho. Yeah. And I understood because he's literally having to has to act at the level that Batman is operating at. And I was just like, hey man, that sucks for y'all, but y'all gonna have to deal with that. Jared Leto, he understands the assignment.
My favorite was he pranked Viola Davis so bad she got her husband to come to the set to whoop his behind. I thought that was the funniest thing I've heard in my life.
I forgot about that.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Oh man, yeah. There was a number of notable pranks that Jared Leto was doing to the cast of what was that, Batman v Superman. That he was pretty hilarious. Like I think he was like sending dead frogs to somebody's room or something crazy. I was like, man, that.
Oh, dude, dead rats, used condoms, all kinds of craziness.
Yeah, man.
Jared Leto's out of control. we gotta stop this man. So
I'm method acting. I'm in character.
pushing forward. Since we're on the subject of DC, let's talk a little bit about the menace of Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller?
Ezra Miller. America's most America's most out-of-pocket male. Mark, would you go ahead and give the audience a summary of what Ezra Miller is?
Ezra Miller, aka the Flash.
Yeah.
This individual has literally broken into people's houses in Hawaii when they were shooting. He's choked somebody out on camera. This man has literally committed crimes and still was able to operate like a normal human being.
Wasn't he giving like kids LSD and grooming them?
He was like literally sleeping. He was sleeping in parks and just avoiding the police. I'm like, what are we doing, DC? How are we like? How are there's like? I'm just dumbfounded
Yeah.
on how they even completed the movie.
Yeah, they
I was
were
like, yo,
for whatever reason. I believe wholeheartedly that DC thought that Ezra Miller was going to save the DCU. I really do. I think that they put all their eggs in the basket of the Flash. I really do. They were like, this George Clooney cameo is going to save everything. I wholeheartedly.
They wasn't saving nothing with that movie.
That movie was dead on arrival. I
The only thing that movie made me want to save was my money.
I will say again with Ben Affleck's Batman and his brutality that the first 5 minutes of the film when Batman was like riding, that was actually pretty cool. But again, the one aspect that was cool in the movie, they ejected right out of the door when it came to the DCEU. So a good.
I mean, Michael Keaton's Batman was good.
I thought his fight
coming back was good.
I thought his fight against the Kryptonians was cool. And what I didn't like about Michael Keaton's Batman, that a lot of people were upset about Ben Affleck's Batman was that they're like, Ben Affleck's Batman don't kill. But when you look at Michael Keaton, he literally put a bomb on a Kryptonian's head and blew him up. Not one damn person said nothing about Michael Keaton's Batman killing nobody.
He killed people in Batman Returns. He literally
Yeah, both of them.
In both of them. I remember specifically in Batman Returns when the clowns were attacking, the town square.
Yeah.
He threw that bomb in that manhole and blew up and killed the dude. I'm like, he
was throwing people off buildings. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. So when Zack Snyder makes this Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman, and they're like, "Oh, we don't like this Batman because he's killing people," and I was like, "Batman's been killing people. He might have a problem with it." But he's been, and if we're all honest, he technically killed Ra's al Ghul. I'm just saying, nobody wants to admit.
He didn't kill him. He just didn't
Don't give me that. Don't give me that. Look. He looked Ra's al Ghul dead in the face and said, just went backwards.
If he had some glider wings, he could have got out of there too. It's not Batman's fault he failed to accessorize. I mean, he didn't kill. That's like, if somebody trips and falls and I could have caught him and I didn't, I didn't make them trip. They fell on their own.
Yeah.
I just did not help them.
That's that Batman logic. I won't kill you. I got no problem looking at you die. I got no problem.
Batman did not blow up that bridge or the train track. He didn't jack up the controls so the train sped off.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything except leave.
Well, this is my stop.
I'm just saying. Ra's al Ghul orchestrated his own demise in every way. And it's a loophole. He's like, well, technically, it's not murder. So,
yeah. So, me and Mark, we were talking earlier about Bane versus we're talking about Tom Hardy Bane versus Heath Ledger's Joker. There we go. I said I thought Heath Ledger's Joker was incredible. I believe that the movie was way more frightening than the rating reflected, especially at the time. But I believe that Tom Hardy's Bane was absolutely mesmerizing. I thought his character has significantly more one-liners than Heath Ledger's Joker. What's your opinion on the two? Who would you say is the better villain? Heath Ledger's Joker or Tom Hardy's Bane?
I just want to interject. Y'all realize we've been having this same debate for over a decade.
Yep.
I just want to throw that out there before we get started. We ain't settled it yet. We're not going to settle it now.
We ain't going to settle it now, but go ahead. Go ahead.
I think Tom Hardy's Bane was great, but my stance is still the same as it always was. Honestly, Heath Ledger's Joker is, to me, the only thing that made The Dark Knight interesting.
Yeah.
Like, if you take all of his scenes out, it really wasn't that good a movie. Yeah. I'm just being real. It would have been really boring if, like, Two-Face was the only villain.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would have been super boring. Whereas there was enough interesting stuff going on in The Dark Knight Rises, even without Bane, it would have kept your attention.
So, go ahead.
Bane was like icing on the cake. He was excellent icing, but Heath Ledger was the cake. He held that whole movie up.
Yeah.
And just, I fall on that side too, just because Bane has more one-liners, but sure. Heath Ledger's, like, the Joker in that movie really tapped into, like, a dark side that made like real people uneasy.
Yeah, for sure. Because
of like how right he was. Like I still to this day will quote him saying, just a little bit of, in the right circumstance, all these civilized people will eat each other.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
that's a
know,
fact
and
though.
as time has gone on,
Yeah.
like that line has proven so true. I mean, just take if he was talking about the internet age. I mean, look at social media. People who are the most docile, kind people in real life
Oh,
are straight up
savages
savages
online.
on the internet.
Savages. Yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like, I think over time, his character as a character stands up more.
Yeah.
That's just me.
For sure. For sure.
And I think that's go ahead, Danny.
No. You go ahead.
I was gonna say that that's one thing that the Joker does. He tries to corrupt the incorruptible, the premise of injustice and how he pretty much he broke Superman.
Yeah.
He broke him.
Yeah.
Even though he killed him,
Yeah.
he did what he meant to do. He broke him, unfortunately. And
I
that's
think
what the Joker does.
I think when you look at not just as Tom Hardy v. Heath Ledger, Bane v. Joker.
Yeah.
Bane v. Joker. When you look at the characters of Joker and Bane, I would say they are hands down the two most menacing out of all of Batman's rogue gallery. Now I want to put a disclaimer on that because it really does depend on who's telling the story. Because if you look at the Riddler, if you look at the Riddler in the Robert Pattinson film, I'm not gonna lie, with Paul Dano, bro, I was when he started singing Ave Maria at the end, I was like, dog.
Yeah.
I was impressed.
This cat is insane.
I was like, yes, this is what I'm talking about right here. I was very impressed. And like, I think what the difference that you get from Batman's rogue gallery that you don't see in other villains, such as like in the Flash universe or in Superman's universe, you have that level of psychopathy within every person. Penguin, every single person in Gotham is a psychopath. And like you got somebody like the Joker who isn't even like, who could never take Batman on in a fair fight. Never, not in a million years could he take on Batman in a fair fight, but causes not just so much death and destruction in Gotham, but if you take the Injustice series, he literally blew up all of Metropolis, killed Lois Lane and her baby, and literally sent Superman into a psychopathy that led to a regime that took over the entire planet.
Yep.
Like I don't even think that there is nobody in the DC universe. There's nobody, not just in the DCEU, but I'm talking about in the DC universe that has the level of psychology that the Joker wields. I think there was one comic, and y'all probably know, was when Joker got the fear ring from the Lantern Corps. He got that man was a problem.
He was an all-out menace.
He was an all-out menace. A problem. Like the people in Gotham, like Batman is the one that keeps these psychopaths from like going out and literally wreaking havoc in the world. But like the villains in Gotham are such problems that when they get out, nobody knows how to handle them. Nobody. Superman, Wonder Woman, nobody. Nobody knows what to do with these people. Like, somebody get Batman to come get this man because we can't handle this man. There's nothing we can do.
I always thought a big part of it, too, is Batman's a different hero as opposed to, like, most of the other ones, because you take, like, the Flash, Superman, Wonder Woman, they're like paragons.
Yeah.
You know, they stand for truth and justice, and they do the good things and the right things. But Batman is every bit as crazy as the rest of them.
For sure.
And he knows it.
Yeah.
He knows it. They know it. Batman is a psychopath just like the people he fights.
Yeah.
What was it? So, remember in Doom, Sean? He said, they gave him an ultimatum. Like they asked him the question, would you, if you had the chance to do this over again, would you, make these plans to stop,
Everybody.
stop the Justice
Yeah.
League? He's like, if you guys don't see the the benefit of stopping
Yeah.
those people on the planet, yeah, I'm gonna do it again.
He was like, what kind of question is that? You guys are the strongest people on the planet. Yeah, of course I'd do it again. I'll do it right now. Y'all can lock me up. I don't care.
I'm making a rough draft right now. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know if y'all saw Titans.
Mm-hmm.
If y'all ever saw that one, like they did a really good job at making him look crazy when what's his name, Tim Drake leaves as Robin. And like and then Jason Todd like leaves as Robin.
Yeah.
Like Bruce is fiending like a crackhead for a Robin. He's like, Dick, you want to come back and be Robin? You can come back. I still got the tights, Dick. You can get in the tights and you can be my Robin again. Somebody's got to be Robin. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever. I know in live action, I've never seen Batman actually look that crazy.
Crazy.
Like, yeah, that's when you break down even that he said he looked at an 8-year-old and went, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna get shot at by criminals every night.
You're gonna fight grown men all night, every night.
Come on, elementary school child. Let's
find Zaz, the serial killer that cuts off.
Yeah, let's go find Victor's ass. The guy that cuts himself every time he murders somebody. Let's do that. Yeah, that sounds like a great field trip.
I'm going to put you neck deep in a world of rapists and murderers. That's how you bring up a strong, well-adjusted young man.
Yeah. On that same line of thought, do y'all remember what was that series called? When Apocalypse took Kira, Superman's Kira L, I think her name was, and he took her back to Apocalypse. Darkseid took Kira L back to Apocalypse. And all of the heroes came to, fight him and try to get him, and they were all getting jacked up. Wonder Woman didn't stand a chance. Superman was getting jacked up. Batman was like, hey, I just put all these death spores and just put a timer on your planet. And if you don't release her, I'm gonna just blow this planet up. And then Darkseid was like, no, you won't. And he was like, I 100% will. Zero problem. I have no problem doing this. And Darkseid was like, well played.
All right. Okay.
That's how you know you crazy when Darkseid's like, respect.
Yeah. Darkseid was like, if it would have been the Kryptonian or the Amazon, they wouldn't have had the gumption to do it. But you will 100% wipe out a planet just to win.
Best believe.
Oh, man, good stuff. All right, guys, if you made it this far in the podcast, you are the real one. Thank you, guys. Mark, Sean, you guys came through and showed out. We appreciate you stopping by the show. We are Carolina Ballistics and Training Academy. Welcome to our newest segment called The Nerd Corner. We will be back. Thank you guys for watching.